I loved the fact that Wes just kept trolling.
Yeah.
What's up, Kennedy? It's Wes. How you doing?
I'm 7 months pregnant in the South.
Oh, you're in the South?
Over 100 degrees. Yeah, I live in Mississippi still.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we talked about that because I was stationed in Biloxi. So, let's get started here. All right. You were pretty eager to talk and discuss your situation with Jorrun. Why don't you tell me about that, and then we'll go from there.
A week after Jorrun was busted in July 2020, Kennedy reached out to me. I had never spoken to Kennedy outside of a live stream we shared on Andrew Brrrrrrcats' channel, but she was eager to talk. The buzz around Jorrun had steadily grown by the day, and Kennedy wanted to tell her own story. But that wasn't the only reason she wanted to talk. Kennedy needed to tell me about a predator within the community, someone who needed to be exposed.
When the inevitable bullshit comes out about me, I'm just deleting my channel and going off to do whatever the fuck I want.
Alright, so he wanted to talk to me before we did our first live stream. He was like, hey, Wes said that we would make a really good team. I was like, okay, and he was like, well, can we talk before the live stream? And I was like, sure, that's not a weird request. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that he had never heard my voice before.
Oh, so he didn't know who you were.
We had like lightly talked beforehand, but it was on a massive live stream. It was one of Andrew's live streams, I think.
Oh, I was there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I was like, sure. And he, you know, like I accidentally ghosted him one day. I was like 4 months pregnant and had worked all day and had just come home and accidentally missed his call, like slept through it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. So, like, the next day I was like, I'm off today. We can talk now. Sorry. I wasn't expecting to just crash as soon as I walked in my front door.
Yeah.
So we got to talking, and at the time I was at my mom's. My mom stays about an hour away from where I live.
Okay.
She lives right before, like, the Mississippi-Alabama line.
Okay, that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I live in Tupelo, which is like an hour drive.
Doesn't Elvis have something to do with Tupelo?
Yes. Technically, he lived here for a little bit, but he was supposedly born here, but actually he was born in Clay, lived in Clay, which is like out towards where my family lives.
Oh, okay.
Dirt poor.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing out there. It's literally like miles and miles and miles and miles of nothing.
Yeah, he had a twin brother, didn't he, that was like stillborn or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aaron.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So you and Jorrun got on the phone.
Mm-hmm. And he heard one of my siblings, I guess, call me KK. And he was like, what? And I was like, oh, that's what they call me. Because the people I call my mom and dad aren't my biological parents. So my younger siblings call me KK because I didn't want them to like call me sister or anything that they weren't comfortable with. So the two older ones heard my best friend calling me KK, and they picked that up from her. Kind of like how I call my mom Mama B.
Mm-hmm.
Her niece and nephew call her B, and I call her Mama B. It was a joke from the Beverly Hillbillies.
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought Aunt B was from Andy Griffith.
It might be from both. I don't know.
Oh, were they like with one a spinoff of the other, you think?
Yeah, I don't. I honestly don't.
Wasn't Elvis on one of those shows?
I have no idea.
Oh, I thought, okay. All right, so...
my knowledge is limited to just, like, very small increments of what I was forced to learn in school.
Oh, so they taught you just a little bit about Elvis in school, not a lot?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We took trips almost every year to the birthplace.
Wow. So you're on the phone with Jorrun, he hears you get called KK, and then what happens?
And then he says, and, you know, I explained, oh, that's my younger sister. I have 3 younger siblings. One's 16, one's 13, and one's 7.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine who was calling for my attention while I was on the phone.
Yeah, one of them.
It wasn't the 13 or the 16-year-old, I promise.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, I kind of just explained, that's what she calls me. I'm not biologically her biological sister. I'm not my parents' biological child. I was adopted at 14.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess he did a little bit of research that night, and he found out that my biological grandfather had actually passed away.
He looked that up on his own?
Who was hard to find because the dude was, like, in the Cajun Music Hall of Fame. I have no fucking clue what that is.
Oh, okay.
I don't have anything to do with my biological family.
Yeah,
period.
I
other
understand.
than talking to one of my older sisters and one aunt, that is it. That's all.
Yeah, I got licensed. We were licensed to foster in Nevada, and we had to go through. It was like 4 months of training. So I pretty much know what those situations are like and what all it takes to lose your parental rights. It's a lot, so I completely understand.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. So he looked up your...
Oh, it's fine.
He looked up your grandfather's name?
Yeah, which led to the obituary, which mentioned me, because I found out the night it was published, but the funeral home was closed that it was published under. So I had to call, like, the next morning and throw a huge bitch fit and be like, take my name off of there. I don't know this man. I've never seen this man. I've never met this man.
Yeah.
I barely have anything to do with the woman he called a child, who was my mother. Legally speaking, she's not even my mother. So remove my name, please, for the love of God.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bad. Because I was like, I don't know him.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, the only 2 biological grandparents I have anything to do with would be my biological fathers.
Oh, okay.
And my biological grandmother passed away last November.
So.
And my biological grandfather is quarantined right now.
Okay. So when he brought up that information, what was your reaction?
Well, we after one of our live streams, he told me, he was like, "Oh, I saw where your grandfather had died," and I kind of just slightly said, "Oh, you mean Jerry Rhines?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's not my grandfather," which is the way I like to phrase that. And he was like, "Well, he's your biological grandfather." I was like, "No, I don't have anything to do with him or his daughter or anyone in that family, basically."
Yeah.
So, no, he's not. I never met him. And from what I was told, I was better off for it.
What was his reaction to that?
And because he was like a big Cajun music fan, he was like, "But really, like, you're basically royalty in New Orleans." I was like, "Honey, he died in a single white trailer, if that. That don't mean much to me."
Yeah.
And, you know, like, he kind of pushed me telling him because like he kind of pushed me talking about my biological parents, because I know my grandmother and grandfather, Oma and Papa, and they were two wonderful people. Oma was a wonderful woman. She lived to be 95 and was a 5'2" little redheaded Italian woman.
Mm.
And my papa was 6'8" in his prime and 350 pounds, Samoan man who came to New Orleans to work.
Wow.
Because he found out that he could get really good building work down here. And that's how they met. And they spawned my father, who spawned me.
Yeah, so
Big guy.
So he had you talking about your biological family because he had looked you up, and this was after the live stream.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, it's okay though, because like it's not hard to find. You can just Google my name, and because of the unique spelling, eventually you're going to find something.
Very weird of him to do that, though. How did that make you feel?
Very weird. I was like, and we were sitting there, and John, my husband, had left and to go get me some food. And I was sitting there, and I was working on getting some stuff done for, I think it was my Let's Talk Blaha live stream.
Who, Jason Blaha?
Yeah. That I did, like, after that. So
I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
Getting that.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it got smacked down by Jason Blaha for, like, a month.
Oh, Jason Blaha smacked it down?
Yeah. And I had to go through copyright hell to get it back.
How do you think Jason Blaha found that stream?
Probably because I used his name.
Oh, okay. So he just
specifically for his name.
Okay, so that he saw that you were talking about him, and then he struck it down.
Yeah, he's known to do that. He's an awful, awful human.
Wow.
I mean, I'm one of those people. I don't care if you're an awful human, but when you start stepping into like stolen valor and talking like bullshit military stuff, that's when I get pissed off.
Yeah, that bothers a lot of people. With and without a military background, that's just not something that you do.
Well, yeah, my grandfather, the person I call Peppa, my mom's dad, he was in the military. My cousin's in the military. My best friend, who's been my best friend since I was 5 years old, her two siblings, one's in the Marines, one's in the Air Force.
Like, yeah, well, we all know Air Force is the way to go.
Oh yeah, but we all like don't talk that shit. No.
So then you're getting ready for the Jason Blaha for the Jason Blaha live.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah. What did he say?
So he started talking about the money. Sorry. He started talking about the money, and I was like, oh, that's good, because I think he made like
$80.
$80, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it was.
I was thinking 70 or 80.
It was the most he had made. The second highest amount was $5.
And I was like, oh, that's good. And he was like, I can give you half if you want. And I was like, you don't have to. It was on your channel. I was just kind of there as like a co-host.
Yeah.
Like if you want to, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. $40. What am I going to do with $40?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Funny enough, just 3 weeks later, her story about that donation would completely change.
He did not split the $80 with me after he initially told me the day before that he was going to split that money with me.
Like by the time that hits my regular spending account, not my PayPal, it's going to be like $35. What am I going to do with that?
Yeah. Buy some Popeyes or some Bojangles or go to Waffle House. So at any point, was he inappropriate with you, or did you see any red flags?
Yes. Looking back, he said something in it, and I told you, and I told Klob, and I called Andrew and let him know, and I texted Adam about it, because I was just like, I need to let everybody get the word out. He said, I now know the names and faces of some of the women in the TCAP community.
And how did he find that? Did he tell you how? Did he tell you how he had found that information?
No, I kept trying to press him, but like, I didn't want to make it seem like it was, like it had tipped me off.
Mm-hmm.
So he never told me. And I went, oh yeah? And he went, yeah, you know, he was like, and I specifically remember, because like I was listening to the phone calls, and I was like, when you said the name, or he said the name, triggered that memory. Like, I kid you not, big pregnant. I was like, oh my God. My husband got scared. I'm no longer allowed to watch things at 3 o'clock in the morning that make me scream, oh my God.
So that caught your attention when he said, because you remember.
Because I remember him specifically naming, like, he knew my name or face, I can't remember which, but he specifically named her. And that's when I kind of went, Jorrun? And he went, yes. And I went, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. And I was like, and I don't like to repeat myself. I was like, even my cats know I don't like to repeat myself.
Wow. And what'd you tell him?
I was like, the women in this community, in some extent, have pretty much, at least most of them, if not all of them, have been victims. Not even just the women. Some of the men have also been victims in this community. If we're going to be doing live streams together, I can't have you being creepy.
Yeah.
And saying flirtatious things together. I was like, because that's my image. My name's attached to your shit too, you know, when we're doing live streams together. And I was like, if I see it ever again where you're overstepping boundaries, I'm done. I was like,
what do you say about that?
End of discussion. And he was like, well, it's just flirting. I was like, no, Jorrun, there's a difference between flirting and saying what you just said.
Yeah. And how did you say his name?
Jorrun.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's how you say it, but like, that's how I say it.
Oh, no, I was just wondering. So he was. What about any personal pickup lines or anything like that he used on you?
He found out that I always make jokes about how I'm really short, which is true. I am the smallest person in my entire family.
No.
Biological and adoptive. I am 5'3".
Oh, okay.
My younger siblings almost all tower over me now, except for the 7-year-old.
Wow. Oh, real quick, let's get back to that real quick, because I don't know if we finished. So you said that the younger the 7-year-old, I believe, was calling you while you were on the phone, calling you KK.
Yeah.
And were you saying that maybe he had do you feel like there was an interest in the 7-year-old at that point, or did he have a reaction in any way?
Well, he was like, who's that? And I was like, oh, it's my younger sister. And he kind of just left it at that. I don't know if he maybe thought I had a kid and nobody knew, and like this was just my second child I'm on.
Oh, okay.
Or if he just had, you know, but like I don't know, because thankfully there are no pictures besides when she's a little bitty baby of her on my Instagram. And, like, you would have to dive pretty deep onto my Facebook to find pictures of her and doing, like, in ballet, because she does dance in ballet.
Okay.
But you'd be very hard-pressed to find those pictures on my Facebook. Now, they're on my mom's, but you would have to, again, deep dive.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned in your video something about him going to jail. Do you believe that he's committed crimes that he should be jailed for, or was that a personal hope? What was that about?
I think with the way his actions are, and this is just coming from somebody who's seen the escalation. You don't, Lauren didn't start out with Kayla.
Mm-mm.
Nobody starts out, one day, I'm going to rape a kid.
Yeah.
I think he is on the track, if not had communications and or sent nudes to younger girls. I don't know how young, but I can tell you that I think. I think is he has.
So that's your
Jorrun has.
Okay, go on, please continue.
Yeah, sorry. Like he has sent those, or he has maybe talked about meeting up with minors. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Well, I know when he talked to Mini Syllables, he did admit to having conversations with high school girls, and he admitted to me that he would look at high school girls, while doing his thing. But he told me that he never contacted them, and I'm sure he didn't lie about. I don't
believe that.
No, I don't believe that either. I mean, he told me, but it was within 20 minutes of each other. His story had changed from. When he talked to me, he had never, ever talked to a high school student, and then when he talked to her 20 minutes later, he admitted that he had. So, so that's more your intuition saying, if you look at where he is now, he didn't just start off this way. There's probably someone out there who he has either victimized or attempted to victimize. So that was your hope there, that enough evidence that something comes up. And if he has done anything... Now, do you believe that with what he's done now, that's a jailable offense, or just that you believe there's more out there?
I think he has things on his computer.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're looking at a DMAX situation.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but...
If you could sum up your impression of the entire situation with Jorrun, from the way he came into the community to the way he left, how would you summarize that?
Well, I wasn't there for the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I was bedridden for the first trimester.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, baby.
So then...
You're welcome.
So then, in your limited experience with him then, from the time that you first started interacting with him until you found out what he had done and how he was no longer a part of the community, what are your feelings about all of that? I mean, like, if you had to choose who was to blame in your mind, what could be done to ensure that someone else doesn't come into the community like this and cause that type of harm?
My interaction with him, there were things like him specifically saying, I know the names and faces of some of the women in this community.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been a huge fucking red flag to me.
Yeah.
But of course, at the time,
yeah, of course,
I was trying to get it out of him, but I only had so much time between my stream and his stream to grill him about it.
Yeah.
And then there were times where he was like, he called me perfectly pocket-sized after I told him I was super-duper short and tiny.
Oh, so he liked that.
Yeah, and it was very, that should have been, again, bright, glittery crimson red flag.
Yeah.
That he wanted somebody that small, because, my husband finds me attractive, but also, he knows I'm a full-grown woman.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but most of the pictures, yeah.
And I know that with when I spoke with him, he tried to say, "Oh, I like larger women, like belly dancer types with hips," but that didn't really jive with who he was actually reaching out to, and the comments that he was making. And then again, when you look at the pictures of children that he was liking while in the process of pleasuring himself, it's kind of hard to believe that he only has an affinity for larger women. There was another comment I know you made in your video about keeping your babies safe from Jorrun. Do you feel like maybe Jorrun wanted to get closer to you to have access to your baby?
Well, first of all, I made that as I would want to post pictures of my little girl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And things like that. most of the women in my family, up until we're like 10 or 11, do dance.
Mhm.
It's just what we do in our family. We can play soccer and softball too, but we also do dance.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. It's like we take swim classes. I don't know why, but we just do.
No, that makes sense. It's a family tradition.
Yeah, it's a family tradition. My mom started dance when she was real little. My sister's both of my sisters have done it, and my little girl will do it more than likely. And so, like, when I found out he was liking pictures of girls in, like, leotards and just seeing the pictures that he had liked, all I could think of was, if I wouldn't have known, he could have been liking her stuff, too, for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
And that's what creeped me out, was, like, somebody sexualizing not only little girls in general, but
little girls in dance. So
yeah,
your statement was more about the unease that you would feel, just even the thought that you could have been posting pictures that someone like that is not looking at with those innocent eyes, but is looking at it in a very sexual manner. That makes that makes sense. So again, who would you? If you could say anyone was to blame in this situation, who would you say is to blame?
Him.
100%.
It's all
correct?
him.
Yeah.
100% him.
Yeah.
Like, for a while there, I felt like I should have known the red flags.
Well, why would you have known better? You know, because there were a lot of people who dealt with Jorrun on a pretty regular basis, and it's once the puzzle comes together, it's much easier to see the full picture. But if you only knew Jorrun from a couple of live streams, or you only knew Jorrun from comments you make on videos, then he could just seem like a guy making TCAP comments, or a guy who's just, because the things that the community does say to each other when you're saying, like, do you want to see it, or should I get a light so you can see it better? They're lorne lines, and they're said as a joke. So unless you saw everything from this, bird's eye view where you're able to see everything that Jorrun was up to, it's hard to say. Yeah, afterwards, hindsight's always 20/20, and it's much easier to say, man, I should have saw this or I should have saw that. But no one knew what Jorrun was up to other than Jorrun.
Yeah, it was, for me, though, I did blame myself, because, like, I was like, my intuition should have been off the radar as soon as he made that comment about knowing the women, like, the faces and the names. Like, I should have rescheduled the live stream and pressed him super fucking hard right then.
Well, I know where he saw most of them, and that was on Skype, from a Skype group.
Yeah.
Because that's when he started calling me by my full name, and I told him.
I don't even. Yeah, he mentioned that. He was like, "Do you know who West is?" And I said, "No." And he was like, "What do you mean no?" He was like, "Him and another woman, him and somebody else got doxxed." And I was like, "I know, but here's my take on that whole situation. To a certain extent, I am a public figure. I post videos to a public forum.
Mm-hmm.
So does West. So does everybody else who does videos for this community. But when that recording stops and we are not talking to each other, I lead a private life.
Yeah.
So does West. So does everybody else. If he doesn't want his real name out there and what he does for a living out there and who he is in real life out there, that's none of my fucking business."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he. So a few days before he got busted by Mac and Cheese, he sent me a message wanting to know because I use a personal PayPal account that's not in my name to make donations, and he wanted to know who the person's name was on the donation. He was like, "Who is this person? I'm so curious." And I blew up at him, because why do you need to know that? It was a really inappropriate question, and it just showed, that the guy didn't understand boundaries, or he would go through his donations and look people up to figure out who they were, and I'm sure he would go and search online for them and do everything else that he could. So,
well, I know he Instagrammed me, because he was the one who made the comment about how we were on call, and he was like, "Oh, you're tinier than I thought you would be. Because there's like a picture of me, my dad, my mom, and my husband, and I'm in like 5-inch heels, and I'm still shorter than all of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I was like, what?
So he was following you everywhere he could.
Yeah, and so, but like, again, that's not weird because I do like tell people to go follow my Instagram because sometimes I post like shit about like what's going on in my world over there, and in case you want to know where the hell I'm at, either there or Snapchat.
Okay, so
So, you know, like, for me, that wasn't the weirdest thing because I've had a lot of people say that, oh, you're a lot tinier than I thought you would be. And I'm like, yeah.
So if you had one thing that you could say to Jorrun now, if you knew that, you know, he was listening or it was going to be relayed to him, what would you want that message to be?
Oh, God. It's really hard because I have a lot of words I want to say.
Oh, I understand. I do have one other question if you want to get back to that one at the end here. So you mentioned that when Jorrun made the comment about, you know, he knew the names and faces of several women within the community, you named a couple of people he contacted regarding that. And one of those names was and I only asked this because I know you contacted me and you were talking about some, you know, like inappropriate stuff that was sent to you.
Yeah, it was said. Yeah,
well,
it was.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. It was
In Kennedy's own words, this YouTuber was hitting on pregnant married women, and after being rejected by Kennedy, he sent a number of unsolicited pictures of his penis. She wanted me to make an expose video. She wanted him called out. She had receipts. But receipts can lie. And she was lying. I knew the two were friends. She even admitted to calling him before our interview. Not the behavior of someone who claims she was harassed by him to the point she left the community just a year earlier.
The reason I contacted him and I contacted you and I contacted Clobber and I contacted basically everybody around the situation was because, like, I was still super duper sick.
Yeah.
I got to the point where I had to be put on bed rest for my first trimester.
Yeah.
I was getting so violently ill with morning sickness that I almost had to be hospitalized 3 or 4 different times because I could not keep anything down for days.
Well, I'm glad to hear that's better. Are you still pushing forward with that content about that? Because I'm sure that
eventually I want to make a whole, like, synopsis documentary style video based around it. More like Frederick Knudsen style or Net style than my usual shitposty style.
So you can do like a mini documentary type thing?
Yeah, like a mini doc of like how he got into the community, how he was able to basically fool an entire community, and between everything. And
wait, you mean Jorrun? Is that who we're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, like do like a whole.
Okay, no, I was asking about the thing. I was like, wait, hold on, what?
Oh,
because I know you said you wanted to make something about that, so I was asking about that.
I'm debating it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad in a lot of ways.
She felt bad because this man was dealing with unimaginable loss, and the two often spoke as friends. She had been asking to stream with him just a couple of days prior to trying to put him on blast.
Especially considering the situation, I don't know. A lot of time, you know, I've spent a lot of time talking to my husband and talking to other people, and you know, as some people are like, just do it, but my husband's like, you did things too that you wouldn't want somebody to talk about.
Who knows how many people she actually spoke to about this? How many people was she sharing his intimate pictures with, claiming to be a victim? Those altered screenshots, the ones where the pictures she sent were mysteriously deleted, along with her salacious messages, prove that this was completely consensual. And that's the thing about receipts. They can work both ways.
That's very true,
Because Jorrun found out about, he mentioned one of my exes. And I'll openly admit it. We were both within legal age. When we met, he was 2.5 years younger than me, which meant when I turned 18, he was 16.
Mm-hmm.
He was the age of consent. But a lot of people
had an issue with that?
Like, I'll leave that. Yeah, a lot of people have an issue with that. But, we were just teenagers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
like,
that's
we were on again, off again.
That's one of the,
I mean, on again, off again. Mm-hmm. And he made the comment of, well, you usually date. Jorrun made the comment of, you usually date younger guys, I guess. And I was like, no.
How did he find your ex?
Because there was an old post where it was me. I guess we were going to prom because he's in a tux and I'm in like a floor length, god awful golden dress. Should not have had it's a low plunging Marilyn Monroe type dress.
Did you have on gold heels with it?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
It's a golden dress and golden heels.
Perfect.
I know, right?
That's
I know.
amazing.
I want to go crawl into a hole for this picture. Thank you, Wes.
That's amazing. You're not missing one of those gold shoes, are you?
I have super tiny feet, but it's okay. If they were my shoes,
you would know.
Because they would look like child's shoes. those actually look like a normal person's shoes.
So,
but he
looked that deeply to find.
Yeah, to try and find something that he could pick at. But the thing is, and I kind of went, no. And he went, what? And I was like, that's actually the youngest guy I've ever dated, which is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, me and this guy are still, we broke up for a long time, and during my whole depression phase of moving out and being on my own for the first time, we hooked up pretty regularly. But by that time, I was 20 and he was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And he literally lived above me in the apartment complex we lived in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that when I moved in.
That'll do it.
Yeah, I didn't know that when I moved in. So, in my defense. And I was like, and he's not the oldest guy I've dated.
Oh, so he probably liked hearing that.
Yeah, I was like, but the oldest guy I was ever with was I was a sugar baby. And basically
That was basically all I can play of that interview without sharing too much of that sugar baby story. Even though she was comfortable sharing that information, I don't personally think it's something that should be out there on YouTube. Chapter 2 is where she really starts to take things to a new level.